Well, let me welcome everybody to the Minnesota Attorney General's office. Thank you for coming. This is a very important announcement that we want to share with you today. So look, social media is a part of our lives. We all use some element of it all the time. And it's an important outlet for creativity, for staying connected with people, for learning, and it's a platform for organizing people. But like any powerful tool, it can be dangerous. The social media company TikTok has knowingly ignored its dangers it presents itself. And so today, my office is suing TikTok for preying on Minnesota's young people, for violating Minnesota law with addictive algorithms and exploitative features. In our lawsuit, we allege a few things. One, TikTok has violated the law by designing features that can cause users to, especially children by the way, to compulsively and excessively use the app such that they are mentally, physically, and financially injured. TikTok has violated the law by live streaming and virtual monetary features that it knows induces compulsive use of the app and is used for financial and sexual exploitation of children. TikTok has violated the law by repeatedly and knowingly misrepresenting the safety of the app when it knows that design features of the app are causing or contributing to compulsive use that harms users. TikTok has violated the law by knowingly misrepresenting the safety of the app's live and virtual monetary features when it knows those features are being used for criminal sexually exploitive purposes. And TikTok has violated the law by failing to become licensed, make disclosures, and submit to examinations by the Minnesota Department of Commerce because it is engaged in money transmission and virtual currency business activity. So, look, this isn't about free speech. I'm sure they're going to holler that. It's actually about deception, manipulation, misrepresentation. This is about a company knowing the dangers and the dangerous effects of its product, but taking no steps to mitigate those harms or inform users of the risks. I just want to walk through the harm that TikTok is causing as we speak. First of all, 95% of smartphone users in the United States who are aged 13 to 17 have TikTok on their devices. That means hundreds of thousands of Minnesota kids. TikTok's own data show, on average, these young people spend almost 2 hours a day on the app. More than 20% use the app in the middle of the night when kids are supposed to be sleeping. And I know that just about every parent of young children in this state could tell you how hard it is to get kids to put those phones away and turn away from apps like TikTok once they start scrolling. And none of this is by accident. It's all a design of the product. TikTok has created a dangerously addictive platform that exploits the unfinished reward systems in our children's brains. They're neurological systems that control our desires for risk-taking, attention, peer reinforcement, are particularly sensitive in teens. And TikTok has designed its app to exploit that very vulnerability. There's science behind this. They have studied. They have put on the, proverbial white coats and gone into the lab to figure out exactly how to do what they are doing. And you know what? Our young people are feeling it. The urge to pick up your phone, the inability to ignore notifications, the desire to continue to scrolling for just a few more minutes. These are products of an engineered addiction. And adults have a tough time putting that phone down. Think about a kid. It's not fair. It's an unfair thing to expect that a kid can overcome the pressures and the design features and the research and the brain science of some of the most highly trained people in the world. Let me direct your attention to the words of Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, who has put it this way. We have some of the best designers and product developers in the world who have designed these products to make sure people are maximizing the amount of time they spend on these platforms. And if we tell a child, use the force of your willpower to control how much time you're spending on social media, you're pitting a child against the world's greatest product designers, and that's just not a fair fight. So TikTok is intentionally designing its product to push our children to make choices that benefit TikTok's bottom line. Never forget, this is about money. It is about money. That is what is going on here. And they're doing it at the expense of our kids' emotional, behavioral, and physical health. Here's a few examples how. The algorithm leverages user data to push content that keeps users engaged. The infinite scroll feature keeps users in an endless state of swiping. There's no way to finish the content. Push notifications encourage repetitive checking of the app, which kids between 13 and 17 do about 17 times a day on average. TikTok Live's unlicensed virtual currency system encourages excessive and exploitive spending. And virtual filters and effects create idealized and unattainable images of users. Let me point your attention to this board. Now this is what this young woman looks like. This is what the filter puts up. TikTok's filters, my goodness. Here it says, it's oh my God, hold on, let's go back to the filter, oh my gosh. TikTok's trust and safety team acknowledged in an internal 2023 recommendation report on mental health that beauty filters are causing severe psychological harm to minors. Well, of course they are. They built it that way. This stuff is digital nicotine. When you think about the clever research and brain science in some of our earlier fights, it's not materially different in its effect right here, right now. Just like Big Tobacco designs its products to addict them, TikTok is working to create TikTok addicts. And the worst part is, it's working. TikTok is profiting, making big money, and our kids are paying a heavy price. And if our kids are paying a heavy price, our society is paying a heavy price and will continue to pay one until we stop this. Studies show that compulsive use of apps like TikTok leads to increased irritability and anxiety and higher risks of suicidal behaviors. Research tells us that prolonged TikTok use specifically can lead to disrupted sleep, reduced physical activity, body dissatisfaction, disordered eating, low self-esteem, and self-harm. And in a little while, you're going to hear from somebody who does this stuff every single day. And I'm looking forward to you hearing from our guest, who I'll introduce in a minute. So it's not a coincidence that as screen time is at an all-time high in Minnesota, we're seeing record levels of children suffering mental health issues. In 2013, just a quarter of Minnesota's 11th graders reported challenges in building friendships with other young people. By the year 2022, that number reached 40%. None of this is news to TikTok. They know the dangers of the app, and they know the dangers the app poses to young people. But they've never taken any real measures to correct those. Take TikTok Live, for example. The live streaming platform within the app. Their own internal documents tell us that TikTok knew but never warned us that live streaming encourages addictive and compulsive purchases and puts minors at developmental risk. When you combine live streaming with virtual currency, you get a strip club. That's what TikTok built. They know that live is built on a transactional gifting that minors are doing it. TikTok knew but never warned us that 40% of TikTok users encounter inappropriate content related to children, and that its own moderation systems miss a significant amount of harmful material depicting child exploitation. TikTok knew but never warned us that its live tools are putting young users at risk of grooming and exposure to inappropriate content, but kept pushing that content because it was good for their bottom line. My bottom line is that Minnesota will protect our kids. Full stop. I'm taking them to court. We're not trying to shut them down, but we are insisting that they clean up their act. There are legitimate uses of products like TikTok, but like all things, they have to be used properly and safely. And the way that TikTok is going about its business is not that. My kids are grown now, and I'm thankful that I didn't have to navigate these waters while they were young. But I feel for the parents of young kids who are trying to keep their kids safe in the social media era. I pledge to these parents and to these children to use my office to protect them and be at their side. If you and your family have stories about TikTok and TikTok Live and how it's impacted the health and well-being of your family, you can visit our website and share your stories with us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you. You can go to our social media complaint form and share those stories, and it'll help our investigation and can help other families stay safe. So let me just say, as I mentioned a moment ago, we have somebody who is on the front lines of fighting for and protecting our kids every day. We're lucky to have Sean Patton, who is not only a middle school teacher, but is a coach and has dedicated his life to the well-being of our kids. And so, Sean, please come forward and share some of your frontline observations.
Thank you, General Ellison, for having me here. Hi, my name is Sean Patton. I am a middle school health teacher. I teach students ranging from ages 12 to 14 years of age. I've been doing it for about 20 years. And that is S-E-A-N, very Irish. Padden is P-A-D-D-E-N. Over the past several years, I have witnessed a correlation between increased usage of TikTok and an irrefutable spike in student mental health issues. This includes depression, anxiety, anger management issues, and self-esteem depletion. TikTok's algorithm is designed to provide students with quick, targeted reels that are based on their tracked likes and previous clicks. These students are curious, and they are underdeveloped in important life skills such as stress management, emotional regulation, communication, and the ability to successfully evaluate media messaging. This algorithm often exposes students to inappropriate materials and content which coaxes them into performing unsafe challenges, as well as reels that rapidly switch from uplifting content to depressing content, acting as an emotional roller coaster which these students struggle to find the tools to navigate. I've experienced these pitfalls of TikTok and its algorithm in my classroom in a variety of ways, including many of which Mr. Ellison spoke to. A decrease in student attention span due to instant quick hit gratification of reels, leading to the inability for the student to stay focused for an entire class period. Attempting dangerous and oftentimes harmful challenges, resulting in damage to property and even student hospitalization. Excessive use leading to sleep deprivation, which negatively impacts the student's ability to learn and recall new important information. Students excessively checking their phones for fear of missing out, which distracts them from learning. And an increase in cyberbullying and conflict, which spills into the classroom and school environment, negatively affecting everyone's experience. In fact, with an activity I do with my students, TikTok is routinely listed near the top when I pose this specific question. Which social media applications are most likely to negatively impact your mood and/or mental health? Many of my students report witnessing sexually suggestive material, racist propaganda, AI-generated misinformation, cyberbullying, and being subjected to unrealistic comparisons, despite the use of parental controls and/or safety measures that were put into place. Another activity I do, I have students take out their phones and check their data usage for apps. TikTok is usually near the top. What I find interesting is even students that report not using the app full-time and hardly using the app at all are reporting high levels of data usage for the app. This begs the question, is the app listening, and is it potentially gathering and sharing information of our young students? For all of these reasons and more, I support any regulation or litigation that will force the platform to become less addictive and less damaging to my students and other students throughout the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
If you guys have any. If you have questions that are not about this topic, happy to talk about it, but after.
I just have a question. What would you say to Minnesotans who heard the whole debate last 2024 of banning TikTok unless they sold off their Chinese interests, and then the president paused that order as the Justice Department not to enforce it, I believe.
Yeah.
What would you say? I think some people may think, well, gee, it's on the way out or whatever. And do you have any insight as to what's happening with that?
Well, I can tell you that I'm watching this sort of divestment debate like everyone, but here's my point, Esme. No matter whether it's sold or not, it must comply with the law, right? No matter what they do, no matter who owns it, they're not abiding by the laws of this state, and they're going to. So I guess I don't want to sidestep your question because it's a good one, but this lawsuit is designed to make them obey the law, whether they're owned by somebody in the U.S. or China. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah.
Is it the commerce aspect that you said, or is that the nut of the?
Well, it's a huge part of it. The commerce aspect is really worrisome because, you know, you can give appreciation in terms of these virtual coinage, and TikTok gets a part of it if you give, say, a tip to somebody else, and they're not registered with commerce to do it. So that certainly is a problem. But the other part of the problem is just the features themselves are deceptive. We have laws in the state of Minnesota saying you cannot use deceptive, manipulative messaging that way, and they are. So we're going to stop them. But I will tell you this. We got some people who've been grinding on this for months. And you guys want to supplement my answer at all? Okay, good.
Two things. What are you actually seeking in terms of relief on this? And then are you aware of any other states or other jurisdictions that have filed anything similar?
Yeah, a number of states have filed. We've been doing pre-suit investigation for a while, making sure we get our facts straight and our ducks in a row. So we've been doing quite a lengthy investigation. But other states have filed before us. We're not the first to file. We're all part of a national multi-district litigation, but we're filing this in state court because this harm is directly to the people of the state of Minnesota. And we're going to vindicate that harm and hold those people accountable in state court. So, yeah, you asked me something else.
First off, can you name some of the other states? And then the rest of it was just what are you actually seeking in terms of...
Right. So in terms of what we're seeking for them to comply with the law in the state of Minnesota, which includes, you know, deceptive, manipulative sort of messaging, advertising, things like that, and complying with the requirements regarding the monetary feature that they're pursuing. I have a list here of all our causes of action. I could pull them out right here. Yeah, so thanks for asking, but they're listed here. What page are our cause of action, guys? Oh, count. I do have count.
So there's a separate federal TikTok lawsuit in addition to the Meta lawsuit?
Yeah. But the first one is Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act. The second one is Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act. The third is Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act, Unfair and Unconscionable Acts. And has to do with TikTok Live monetization. And count 4, Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act violation, again, TikTok Live monetization. And then 5, Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act, Safety and Design, Omissions and Misrepresentations. And then count 6, Prevention of Consumer Fraud Act, again, misrepresentations and omissions concerning design. Count 7, Money Transmissions Act, engaging in the business of money transmission without a license. And in terms of our prayer for relief, we're seeking, one, for them to stop the bad action that they're doing and to comply with the law and to compensate the people of this state for the harm that they have caused so that we can do what we did with so many other violations, use the money to stop the harm and to redress that harm.
The lawsuit says, I believe, $25,000 for every single violation. Do you have an expectation, a ballpark of, the amount of money you could get in Minnesota if this moved forward?
Well, do you guys got a ballpark number you want to throw? Come on over here, Bennett. You got to talk in front of this thing. Say your name first.
Happy to do it. Assistant Attorney General Bennett Hartz, that's BENNETT-HARTZ. That $25,000 number comes from the law that the Attorney General uses to enforce violations of Minnesota law. Section 8.31, if you're curious for the specifics. We always typically ask for the full up to $25,000 per violation amount, but what that actually looks like depends on the number of violations, the severity of violations. So it's hard to give a firm number now, but that's something that develops over the course of the litigation.
Well, I tell you what, it's a lot.
Any sense of
And they
number of
better be
violations?
concerned about, where that ends up. Because if we end up getting in front of a Minnesota jury asking for, the compensation for what they've done, they have serious exposure.
Have you had any response from TikTok? Have they filed?
We filed this morning, so I don't think we've heard yet, have we? Not yet.
You mentioned there's a place where people can go online and
Yeah.
say where they've experienced similar aspects of this. Was there an outcry from people who have filed complaints from your office or
Oh,
brought
man.
this forward?
Well, let me tell you, a lot of things have brought it forward. It's been a confluence, but I can tell you that I do a lot of community meetings. I do community meetings all the time, and at all these community meetings, parents corner me and tell me their TikTok horror stories. And I mean, when I was in Winona the other day, when I was in Morris last week, when I was in, wherever I go, people stop me and say, what are you guys going to do about this? And so I route those stories. I ask people to file their complaints, and then people call in to our complaint center. And then we have people like Mr. Patton, who, trusted community resource, who says, hey, I'm trying to teach health, and here's what I have to deal with. So all these things together put us in the position we had to file this case.
So there's not like a number of violations, it's just kind of a...
We could probably get, I can ask Parker for the number of calls we got, but I don't know what that is offhand.
And what's a violation? Is that like every child who's logged on to TikTok Live that's...
Every child who's been deceived, misrepresented, monetized, these are what we would call the violations. Every kid who's been addicted by their algorithm, that would be a violation.
Keith,
Yeah.
could you make obviously there's other companies out there that do this too.
Right.
You have Google, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Could you make a case for going after those companies that engage in this?
I think they better seriously worry about that. So yeah, they could make a case for that, but they can have a chance now to clean up their act. I mean, and this is not uncommon. I mean, often I'm asked, well, other people are doing it, why are you going after these people? And my answer is, you got to start somewhere.
You mentioned it goes on. Is there any chance of perhaps criminal charges related to the explicit content being shown to children?
Well, quite honestly, I think that's something that they better be seriously concerned about. We are concerned about it, but at this point, I'm not prepared to make any comment about that. But I mean, look, you can read the complaint and tell that if you're They have lawyers who should tell them where the lines are, and they better stay on the right side of them. But I'm not prepared to make a definitive comment about that right now.
And do you have a position on whether ByteDance should have to sell TikTok for the app to be able to?
I didn't catch that.
Do you have a position on the issue of the foreign parent company and whether they should have to divest for TikTok to operate in the U.S.?
I guess that for me it is an interesting question, and I don't really have an opinion to offer right now. I can tell you this: I don't care if they're from Minnesota, the United States, China, or Mars. They operate here. They got to obey the law. Full stop.
Do you feel like consumer protection laws adequately address issues like social media addictiveness?
You know what? We've been spending a lot of time trying to catch up and update. So, Jason, you want to come over here? Jason Plagencool can introduce himself, and he certainly can go for it. But tell them about the work, the studies we've written, stuff like that.
Sure, happy to. Assistant Attorney General Jason Plagencool. It's Plegenkuhle. So the office has published 2 reports now to the legislature on social media and emerging technologies and ways that it's harming Minnesotans and especially youth. And in our second report released in February, we made a number of policy recommendations and even included model legislation to that the legislature could take up to try to catch Minnesota up to some of the ways emerging technology, including social media, is harming our youth and give us some better tools to protect everyone.
Do you think there was the new social media warning label law that was just passed? What do you think of that?
I'll let the Attorney General speak to that.
It's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. We'll see if it's enough, but it's a good start. And I'll also say that, like, we're right now defending a Minnesota law that's been attacked for constitutional reasons to try to prohibit deep fakes. You know, we're defending that law right now because somebody says it violates their First Amendment right. I think your First Amendment, you don't have a First Amendment right to straight up lie, but they say that this is their right. So in answer to your question, yeah, we are trying to catch up with the technology, but it's not an easy fight because some continue to like challenge but we're sorting through it and we are catching up and we're studying the stuff. And we have a group that looks at it, and we have legislators who care about it as well.
Sean, I was just wondering if you could say which school you teach at. Sorry,
I teach at for Rollsville Area School District, but to be perfectly clear, I'm not here representing Rollsville Area School District.
In middle school or?
Middle school, yes.
Esben, do you have a question?
Well, I do have a question about, I think a lot of people are familiar with these kinds of filters because they exist in a lot of other apps, but can you address whether your investigators have found examples here of the tips for strip clubs filled with 15-year-olds? Is that going on? How prevalent is that? And do you have examples of that here that you'd be able to bring up on a witness stand or something like that?
We expect to have plenty of examples. Do we have anything we're prepared to reveal today about this?
Not today, but the investigation's active and ongoing.
Right.
In that area
Yes.
specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say that one of the problems with TikTok, I'm revealing my age, is that there's no reliable age verification. So if a kid says, I'm whatever I am, then that content is going to be exposed to them. And so, that's the problem. So, we're confident that there's plenty of kids who will be prohibited for them to be exposed to this kind of material. And then when you start talking about getting tips for this, it's clearly, anybody can see that this is a real problem. So investigation's ongoing, and we'll certainly let you know.
I just asked Mr. Patton, in your
Come on over here, Mr. Patton.
over there, a lot of parents are obviously on social media too, on Facebook and Instagram. In your view, when you've experienced, how much are parents really aware of TikTok? Do they understand it? Do they know what's going on? Do they know how much time kids are spending on it?
In my personal experience, parents are underinformed. But I will say this, like we were speaking earlier, about what parents' feelings on this, one of the most common questions I'm asked as a health teacher is, are you covering social media? So that it's a concern, right? They're concerned, and they're concerned about what they don't know. But me personally, I do not believe there's enough information out there and that they're not understanding the gravity of the situation. But they do know it's a problem. I mean, it is a major concern.
Okay, you guys, thank you for coming.